The biggest mistake I made in my business was not hiring a professional to help me with my money. Not just my taxes, but the actual plan I had for my business. I was completely lost on how to handle taxes, what to do with profit, and how to maintain my income. I had to find a better way. That's when I found Core Financial. Core Financial is a team of tax professionals that actually care about building real relationships with their clients. They run my books, keep me up to date with my finances, and make sure I'm taking full advantage of all of my tax benefits. Are you struggling with your finances? Look no further. Core Financial is a brand that is nationwide that can help you with your business. Both Nick and I are huge fans of Core, and they can help you too. Check out howtofilmweddings.com/core to schedule a consultation today. Core Financial, real relationships, no surprises.
And welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is Nick Miller, and I am joined live in person, in the flesh, with my good friend, my good buddy, Mr. John Bunn. John, how you doing?
I'm doing great. And if you can see, if you're watching, we're also joined with some of our good buddies, KEJ Productions in the house.
Hey.
Hi. How are you all?
We're doing great. Stoked to be wearing a jacket because it's nice and chilly out here.
Oh yeah, you guys. Currently we are at Venture, and we're recording a bunch of podcasts out here. It's like 65 degrees. We're sitting out on the roof balcony. It's real nice. You guys are from like really hot, humid Florida.
It's still bazillion degrees there in October, so we're just stoked.
You guys look like you're fitting right in with the sweaters and the jackets.
It's covering up all my warmth. I just needed it. I'm usually the hot guy that doesn't wear long.
Of course,
pants.
you find a way to make this weird.
Wow,
This is great.
Well, anyways, we have KEJ, Kaleb and Elaine, joining us. They, you guys, they are so talented. They have been in this industry, not before the wedding film industry. They were in music production industry, like working and making a name for themselves and working with tons of cool people. And so we just wanted to let them kind of tell their story a little bit before weddings and kind of what you did and what your jobs were and how you worked in the music industry. So,
ladies first.
Oh, shucks. Well, music has just always been a part of our story. I think individually, even before we met, I started playing piano, classical piano at age 5, and Kaleb has always been one to play in church, drums, guitar, bass. He plays more instruments than I do, even though I was the one to go to music school. But we actually met at Walt Disney World as audio engineers and had thriving careers there. Got to work with a lot of cool people, everything from Grammy Award-winning artists and actors and actresses and CEOs and CFOs and kind of the whole gamut when you're in a place like Disney. And yeah, we were in that industry for quite a long time.
Yeah. So my kind of path, I was going to go to school at a school called Full Sail University in Florida. Mm-hmm. And I ended up getting a job as a stagehand over at House of Blues in Orlando. And they were like, yo, don't go to school. We'll teach you everything you need to know. And that's kind of where I started. So I started as a stagehand. My first show was Pink. And it was crazy, man. It was my mind was just blown.
You were also what, 19?
No, 18, I was 17.
Whatever.
I was 17 whenever I started into the live events, live production industry, and so I got to do so many crazy shows with a lot of cool people that came through House of Blues, from Willie Nelson and the Wailers, I can't tell you. Every single night, it was a different show. So I have so much guitar picks that people would just leave on the floor. And I'm like this little kid, So I'm like, oh my gosh, Dragon Force. And I put the pick in my pocket. And so I have this bucket full of stuff. And then I ended up moving over to Disney. And like Elaine said, we met there, and I started learning the digital chops of audio from our mentor and really teaching me the foundations of audio, how to be an audio engineer and how to do it with excellence and at
a high level. Because when you're a lot of the artists and a lot of what they would consider high profile, people that roll through there. It's Disney. So they're trying at all times to be the best. They want to do everything with excellence, and everything from the experience, from when you step on the property, alongside like the technical aspect of it. So it's really interesting to have grown up in an environment like that, because you just learn to be consistent in that excellence. And in that process, you kind of put practices into place to where you're kind of protecting yourself from failures and protecting, the show from going down. That was always the thing at Disney. It was like,
and everybody's super high strung too, because it's Disney. It's like everybody's like the tightest pants on all the time. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Like they're super high strung. So whenever we came into the wedding industry, it's like the pucker factor for weddings is pretty high, right?
Because it's a one-time moment in someone's life, and you get you
pucker
really
factor.
just
Don't mix those first letters up.
We're bringing out all of the lingo. This is like the most.
So it's a very, very tense situations going to
tension,
a lot of butt puckering. I get it.
High tension situations. So it's funny though, stepping into the wedding industry, like that's just what we were used to. Like that's the environment you're used to. So when we started filming weddings, it was like, okay, we can jive in this, because we were already operating at a level where you just could not mess up. Like you don't mess up when Bob Iger, whoever, like CFO or GM of whatever park is going to be speaking. Like their mic had to be on tight, and that string was not going to be like, the cable wasn't going to be attached in some like rinky-dink way. Like it was going to be dressed, and it was going to be in a certain position. And like even before they stepped on stage for sound check, it was like everybody's like at attention, and you're making sure that your stuff is in line, and you have backups in order. And there's like the A2 on the side of the stage with like a second handheld, like ready just in case that mic goes down. And
comm headset on there.
And the
like
stage manager is there like sweating. So like that's the environment we came out.
But even with that perfection, like you have to get it right. Mm-hmm. There was inevitably going to be mess ups. Like there's a time where I accidentally dropped a lavalier pack down this lady's skirt.
It was the VP.
It was the VP.
It was like
her name was Melissa. She remembers me till this day. But I dropped, like, I was dressing the cable and the pack fell down. I was like, oh gosh. I was like, this is not a good look for me. And so like we were in those really high tension shows. And the one thing that we another funny story, we were doing this high profile show, like you don't screw this up. This is the president of Walt Disney World Company coming, and Mickey Mouse is going to come on stage, and he's going to have some playback sounds, like he talks, we have to cue the playback and stuff like that. And
wait, what? Mickey doesn't talk?
These are Mickey talks.
Don't ruin this for me.
Talks.
Okay, we'll cut that out.
I'm just kidding.
So we're doing this high
Santa's what?
Blake, don't cut that out. Leave it in.
No, never.
Leave it in, Blake.
So this show, and we had this producer come up, and you could tell she was like stressed out, and she goes, Caleb, like just make sure that it's unmuted, like make sure. And I turned to her and I go, Melissa, don't worry. I've screwed up bigger shows than this. And you should have seen her face. It just like went ghost, like, and like walked out. Like I was just like, but all that to say, like, there's a lot of what we think as filmmakers in the wedding industry. We think like, yeah, we got it going on as far as audio. We still screw it up, Like it's not,
because equipment fails and you're dealing with a live events, and live events hardly ever go perfect. So how do you operate in that environment and still try and pull off perfection in your craft?
Yeah. And so we brought that out of our careers. I eventually went on and I started touring with bands. I started working with a band called Boyce Avenue to start, and I toured. We went all over the world a couple of times with them, and then I moved on and I started working with a band called Green River Ordnance, and we got to do cool shows on like a USO tour, like serving our troops out in the Middle East, and like doing some really cool stuff out there, and then doing shows like the MTV Music Awards in Belfast. Like Justin Bieber was there. Like we were doing all these cool things, and alongside that, Elaine, she doesn't say this often, but Elaine has an Emmy, and she got it during was the Disney Christmas Parade.
It's always so awkward.
We need to put when her name flashes up.
Emmy Award
winner.
Yeah.
Emmy Award winner. Okay.
Yeah, it's really it's awesome, and quite honestly, a lot of I feel like coming out of that industry, like a lot of those things come because you're working on a team. You know, like I feel like I received that Emmy because the team, and actually the Emmy is for outstanding technical team. That's what we won it for. And
So I know I was on that show too, doing front of house audio, and I didn't get an Emmy. So just throwing that out there.
he loves to remind me of that, but. Yeah, so it's just been really cool, really such an honor to like have had that experience.
And if, most of the people listening to this podcast obviously don't have that level of experience. And so what I've found very refreshing about you all is just your continued education and teaching people and different things of that nature. Before we get into that though, I want to talk, you transitioned into weddings when?
This was five years ago, full time about 3.5 years ago. So after about 1.5 years of filming weddings, it just got to a point where, well, Kaleb was already full time with KEJ. Pretty much after like 9 months into the business, he came off the road.
Yeah, because I was still a freelance audio engineer.
So he came off the road and
doing both.
Was doing our wedding stuff while also doing some consulting and freelance audio work in town. But at the time, I was still an audio designer. And it just got to a point where I was like, I got to choose. Either I'm going to continue this career at Disney and move up, which at that point I was like, there's nothing I really want to move up to. Like I'm at the highest level in regards to audio, like where I can still have my hands on the gear and still be part of the craft. Anything after that would have been like producer or production manager, which I wasn't. I still love tech. I still love like pushing faders and working on stuff. So I was like, I think this is it. And so my last show at Disney was a fireworks show. And after that, after you mount like a nighttime spectacular, it's like, what else am I going to do here? And at that point, I had just really fallen in love with what we were doing at KEJ. And I loved our couples and I loved the relationships we had with them. And especially coming from the production industry, which I say is like one of the most thankless jobs you can have because people don't know you're there unless something's going wrong.
Yep.
And hopefully nothing's going wrong. So then like the event goes and, happens and then it's over. But in weddings, it was just, you could be so present with people and then like they know your name and like you're staying in touch with them. And so I had just completely fallen in love with the industry. And that's when I knew it was time to be full time.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I love hearing your story. I love hearing, where you came from, and I love hearing, how you got into weddings. And I want to hear more about that. We're going to continue to talk with Kaleb and Elaine about audio and the importance of that in your films right after this break. What would you take on if you had an extra set of hands? What would you do with your free time if you didn't have to edit? So many of us get bogged down in the post-production hustle that we never seem time to focus on our business. John and I both felt that way until we found Wedditor. Wedditor is a post-production team of top wedding film editors and project managers that give your films and brand the extra eyes, ears, and hands that they need. Not only is Wedditor delivering films we love to our couples faster, but we can invest ourselves fully in other areas of our business knowing that Wedditor has our back. Be the first to know how your second shooters are doing, how those new LUTs work with your footage, and relax knowing your couples are getting the full attention they deserve on every single project. So what could you do with an extra hand? Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedditor, whether you're ready to start now or preparing for next season. Be sure to use promo code HTFW for $50 off your first project. If you're interested in this service, make sure you head over to howtofilmweddings.com/Wedditor soon. Fall 2020 spots are lined up and filling up fast. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing. All right, we are back from break with Kaleb and Elaine from KEJ Productions. So glad that we get to spend this time with you. So I wanted to, kind of jump in and maybe have you guys talk for a second about, going from this music production. You're working MTV Music Awards and you're winning Emmys and you're doing all sorts of really cool stuff, and then you go into weddings, which there's not that celebrity eye shock, that kind of stuff, and all of these people watching. But it's still it's very important. Like you guys would say it's probably more important, to do these wedding films than these big concerts and all of that kind of stuff. So what are some of the things that having this job, the music production, has really helped you move into the wedding industry, the wedding world?
Yeah. So like Elaine said, the live production music industry is pretty thankless. And like, even though we've won awards and we've done cool shows, it's done that year. Like, it's done. The next year somebody's going to do something. And what we love about wedding films and being in the wedding industry is, one, community is amazing, as we see here at Venture. But the second thing is that we get to give people something that lasts forever. And that's something that we've never got to experience in the audio industry. You always get people coming up the mountain, and then their career goes down the mountain, and then they're out, unless it's like a Dolly Parton, where she's never going to die. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like that. And I feel like that's why we love the wedding industry so much. And
like, it always goes back to relationships, like relationships with our filmmaking community, with the wedding vendor community, and also just like our couples. Like, it blows my mind that, like, I still get messages from couples in our first year, like 5 years ago, and like on their anniversary, they're like texting me pics of them watching their films with their kids. Like, that's crazy, It's
So
just
good.
like, oh my goodness. Or I mean, and even the hard stuff, like, hey, like we were going through a season, and like your film reminded us of like what we promised each other. Whoa, man, whoa. So it's just been amazing. And even though we still do like consulting work and like some system stuff in audio, like, it's not something that I like deeply miss, which I was kind of afraid of. Well, like, when I resigned, I was like, man, I hope I'm not making a mistake, like leaving all of this, but I don't regret it. It was such the right decision.
And you guys, I mean, for the listeners out there, I mean, these are seasoned professionals when it comes to audio engineering. You guys have been trained. You know what to be looking for or listening for, I guess so. And so you guys make this transition into wedding films. And obviously, if you've watched some of your films, I mean, the audio obviously is very important. What is audio like for you on a wedding day? Like, what are the things I guess I'm thinking about people out there listening. It's like, what are some of the things that you continually would see or hear in films that people are just doing wrong? Or like, what things did you want to focus on with your audio? Just kind of, what's your overall take on like the audio portion of a wedding day, how you guys interact with that?
I think we just always go back to those foundational things, and so much of it is so nerdy. Like, I could really nerd out on this stuff, but I won't, for the sake of this podcast actually being enjoyable.
Thank you.
But like, really,
Appreciate
a
that.
lot of it is just like technical, like just foundational stuff, And Kaleb and I, we were saying, okay, what are like the 3 things that we always do every single wedding or every single commercial gig? It doesn't even matter what gear you have. We're always aware of like our signal flow. So where we're taking our recordings in the actual chain, like what our gain structure looks like, which is just a fancy way of saying your audio levels, and redundancy, which is redundancy, covering your butt, basically, and making sure you have systems in place to where when things fail, not if, because they will fail, when things fail, you have a system in place to where you're covered. And quite honestly, like, we make mistakes. Like, even after 15 years of doing audio each, like, there are still, a wedding day is no joke, so even systems in place to where when I'm just out of it and I forget to put the DR10 into record, which happened 2 weddings ago, like, we weren't panicked because we had backups up at the altar that I know got it,
Yeah.
And sorry.
Yeah, and just to add on to what Elaine is saying, the one thing that I see filmmakers doing or not doing is not having the awareness that you can do a lot of things to help your audio. It's not about buying the most expensive gear or the stuff that's going to save, like, that you think is going to save you. The promise is that it'll make everything, all your problems go away. It's not about that. It's about covering yourself and actually knowing the foundations of being an audio engineer, because we're not just directors of photography. We're not just wedding filmmakers. We have to be audio engineers too. And once you elevate your audio, I feel like that has played a huge success in how fast our business has grown, just because of how much we use audio and how we use it in a way to tell a story and not just slap it on top of a music bed and let it go. Like, we're really intentional about the film. We spend so much time learning our gear, trying to perfect our framing, trying to do all of these things, and we don't spend the time to make sure that our audio is meeting that level of what we're putting into our filmmaking. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and I was like, audio and filmmaking, like, you have to learn these things at the same level, and then you start adding in elements of like, what is cinematic? What does your brand look like? What does all of these things look like? Like, you have to have a good audio game as a filmmaker coming into being a wedding filmmaker.
And to that point, like I mentioned, the couple that, sends us a message like from 5 years ago. And I'm like, oh goodness, like that color grading was the worst. Or I didn't yet understand like light temperature and stuff like that. But it's like, wow, but the narrative was intact. And like the following year, like we booked a $5,000 wedding in our second year, And so I look back at that stuff and I'm like, it was all about the narrative.
Yep.
Like the client doesn't know that my white balance was too cool. Like all they care about is that their grandfather was heard, like his speech was in their wedding film.
I remember, and I've shared this before, but I watched Rob Adams. He's one of the great, foundation guys in our industry. He, in a creative live class, someone said, so what do I need to buy? What do I need to buy, camera bodies or glass? And he looked at the camera and he goes, audio. Yeah. That was his answer. And he was like, okay, we as a society, you can forgive poor picture quality if it sounds great. You flip that and you have the best picture in the world, but it hurts your ears, or there's some static or something in it that like, this is unwatchable. Yeah. And so it plays such a valuable part. And sadly, how most of us kind of learn this, and we're so focused on beautiful pictures and having the best pretty shot and the sunset, that we're not learning how to do the audio portion to take it to that next level. And I do not think it is coincidental that the people that are at the top of the game in our industry, like their stuff, you feel it differently because they are adding in audio moments, whether that's the dialogue sounds great or the sound design or mastering it all together. So, yeah.
And I would just add on to that, like, I am not a techie person. I'm a people person, and I've always erred on the side of the family, and family is so very important to me and why I love filming weddings. And like, I'm a business guy, and that, I'm always trying to get better with my shooting, but like the importance of capturing the audio for these people, I want to reiterate, like, I had a wedding one time where the bride, her dad was not in good shape, and they didn't know if he was going to make it to the wedding. And it was one of those weddings where like it changes you. And I'm sure all of us out there can relate, but he was able to make it to he started feeling way better. He didn't have to wear his oxygen to walk her down the aisle, walked her down the aisle and had like this little impromptu moment where I didn't mic him, but he popped in to the bride room to see her getting ready. And he just lost it and just told her how proud he was. And then during the reception, he gave a speech and had this charge for them and for their marriage. And, it was great. I didn't really think anything of it. I had redundancy. I had backups. Sounded great. And 3 weeks after the wedding, I get this call, and she's shaking and crying. And she's like, please tell me you got any audio from my dad. My dad's voice. I don't have any voicemails. I've got nothing. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, he just passed away this morning. And I was able to craft the film around these moments with dad. And I ended with the audio from him giving this charge. And now they have this. And I ran into her at Target, and she was just like, you don't even know. like what that means to me. And that's why I think like the audio is so very important. Yes, it's great. And yes, you can show it off to other wedding filmmakers, but I just wanted to reiterate that point that the reason this is important because the people that are saying these things.
Yeah. Yes and amen. Yes and amen to all of that. Even when we first got into this business, I remember because we didn't have a videographer at our wedding. And even though I remember like the image of my dad standing, you know, and giving a toast and even the pictures, I have those pictures and they're beautiful. And I absolutely adore my wedding photos. Like I would give anything to know what he said. You know, and that has always just driven the heart behind our films. It's like, I don't ever want my clients wondering that. When I realized the power of audio is just within the last 2 years, one of our brides reached out and she said, this is going to sound so weird, but I actually listened to my film at work. And I was like, what? Like, that was the first time she was like, yeah, like it just lightens up my day. I can't watch it, but it's on my phone and I'll just put in my headphones and I'll just listen to it because I already know the imagery just by listening to it. And I was like, wow, that's like amazing. That is like the complete difference between wedding videography and really everything else, photography. Mm-hmm. Like audio is the difference. And as Kaleb said, we should be investing in it just as much, maybe even more than the imagery.
Man, you guys, good stuff. Good stuff. I know that, you know, like in our Facebook group, you know, every now and then we get a comment of people that are, especially a little bit newer, you know, they're like, man, I want to do audio, but the whole, like, I have my recorder. Where do I plug into the DJ? What do I say to them? How do I talk to them? You know, it can be so overwhelming. You know, I've learned how to, you know, I've learned ISO and shutter speed and, you know, how to use my camera and all that stuff. But now you're telling me I have to learn another thing on top of that and think about all of these things. And I know that you guys have worked really hard and put together something that will help the filmmaking community. And we'll talk about that right after this break.
Finding the perfect song for your wedding film can be so frustrating. We spend countless hours searching for the perfect song. When it comes to licensing music, Nick and I both love MusicBed. Not only do they have the best music, but their website makes it so easy to find the perfect song and to find it fast. We have both been using the MusicBed's wedding subscription for years and cannot recommend it enough. Not only are they adding new music from incredible musicians like Chapters, The Light, The Heat, and Tony Anderson all the time, they've made it incredibly easy to search their library for mood, genre, instrumentation, and even key. So what are you waiting for? Head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed and use promo code HTFW for a free month of a MusicBed wedding subscription. howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed.
Okay, we are back from break and we're going to go ahead and jump into our question of the day presented by Wedditor. Wedditor, more than freelance, more than outsourcing. howtofilmweddings.com/Wedditor. They'll help you out with your edits if you're behind. Check them out. Anyway, so our question of the day presented by Wedditor.
Wedditor. How many times can you say Wedditor, man? They're like, thank you, Nick and John. Yeah, I love you, glorious editing.
Okay, so our question of the day for you guys is this. Do you have something? Do you have a course maybe that could help people improve their audio game in their filming?
As a matter of certain, yes. We just came out with the KEJ Productions Audio Masterclass. And we are so excited to be just sharing all the knowledge we have gained over the past combined 30 years of being audio engineers. And, you know, and when we talk to filmmakers, like, we understand audio can be daunting, like you were talking about. Like, it's nerve-wracking. And then trying to not screw up somebody's most important day is nerve-wracking. Like, and so not having the knowledge or having any kind of base knowledge for audio, that's what we've seen in the wedding industry. There's nobody, I mean, people give suggestions on gear and things like that, but what we've found is that there is no 101. Like, and if people are going deep into it, they're going deep into the visual side of things. So yeah, KEJ Audio Masterclass.
I have to say, like, so we've been working on this for now over a year, because it was about a year ago this time we kind of wrote it out, right? Or was that 2 years ago?
No,
It's been a long time that we've been like dreaming this and just finding and navigating the way to make it the most approachable. And, you know, as we were editing the final modules, I just felt like this, honestly, a huge sense of pride, because I just know how powerful the information is. And I feel like it is actually not, I feel like I know that it's presented in a way that's approachable, and that audio does not need to be intimidating. And if you know absolutely nothing about it, you can pick up this masterclass and know it and be confident walking into your next wedding and know how to speak to a DJ. And, you know, if the DJ or the band engineer is a jerk to you, that you do have options to kind of, like, we cover it all. Mm-hmm. And
even more than that, like going further into advanced modules of like, what's the biggest thing you get asked about within the How to Film Weddings Facebook? It's noise reduction. Yeah. How do I get rid of X, Y, Z? How do you
wind, water, baby crying? Like,
yeah,
you name it.
I mean, there's stuff like we go in deep into that. Elaine did a great job in that, and through the whole process. And most people know, and for those of you who don't know, we have an editor who knew nothing about wedding filmmaking in general.
Filmmaking, audio, nothing. Like,
and so
didn't know any of it.
Yeah, and so through this whole process, we've filtered all of our information, because as audio engineers, we can be really technical. We can be really technical.
I'll go
and
deep.
So we sat there and we're like, does this make sense to you? Because he is you, like the person who's trying to figure out audio and do it well. And so
and by the end of the course, so by the end of this process of us creating this course, he has actually been the one like editing it and like making suggestions, which is so rad, because like to me it shows like, wow, he really understands it. Like I think later in one of the modules he was like, you said this, but earlier when you're talking about gain structure, like this needs to be related to that. I was like, whoa, dude, like I'm so like impressed. Like I'm like, wow, like you sound like, even just in the way you communicated that to me, you sound like an audio engineer, you know? So our big thing, it's like, and you said this earlier, like great films do not have bad audio. They just don't. So if you want to charge more for your film, you know, if you want to step into a luxury market, like you have to learn this. It's not an option. It's not something that you can just kind of get by on. You can for a certain amount of time, but like, at some point, you're really going to have to dive deep or pay someone else to do it.
So the thing that I come back to, and you know, when it comes to any, so you know, are you Final Cut? Are you Premiere? Are you DaVinci? Are you using Isotope or Audition or you know any of these programs? So you know, someone's like, I'd really like to get on this, but I'm on this program. Like, do you guys touch on that? Do you talk about that? Do you work through that? Like, how did you structure that? So
the cool thing about audio in general is that parameters, they translate over any kind of user interface, but a compressor is going to have the same compressor settings as another compressor, whether it's Final Cut, DaVinci, or Premiere. And so what we've done in the course is to make it kind of open-ended. We did pop through and to Premiere. I had to like crank up the old engine to get Premiere going. You know, I had to do all the updates.
Why you gotta be like that?
I mean, I'm just saying. No, but we wanted to make sure that we were serving everyone well within all platforms. And so for that, we wanted to bring out Premiere and just show, hey, Final Cut guys, hang in there with me, just like the Premiere guys are having to hang in a different module. Like we want to show that audio translates. We go through EQ, we go through compression, we go through mastering, we go through mixing. The mix class is so dope. Like it is so good. But it translates from every platform. And so we thought about that from the jump. We were like, we don't want to just isolate just to go for Final Cut, you know, and stuff like that. So
and that's kind of the nature of like where we came from as well, I think too, because it's like as an audio engineer in the live setting, it's like if you really know your stuff and know it well, I can work on this board, I can work on that board, I know this microphone and I know what it applies to in different situations and different atmospheres. So we wanted to take that same concept and apply it to filmmaking so that no matter like even what recorders you have, you can pick up a recorder and know like, okay, I need it to be set to this. I need it on, line level. I want it to feather at this level. And even if the DJ like clips this, I have this backup that I know. And so we really wanted it to be approachable in that way, because truth of the matter is, especially if you're starting in filmmaking, you may not have 5 recorders. You're going to start with 2. Well, how do you use those 2 recorders most efficiently?
I sit here and I think about like the friends or the people that we've had mentorship sessions with, or even myself when I first got going, and you're trying to balance a lot of different things. You're trying to be the CEO of your company, you're trying to market your company, you're trying to brand your company, you're trying to edit, you're trying to shoot, you're trying to sell, all these different things. And like when I started in 2007, there was nothing education-wise besides Creative Live, a couple of different, but nothing that was like this specific that could have literally changed the game for me. Like I would be years ahead if I would have had something like this. And I think to the people that, I'm excited about the content. Like I've been able to peek behind the scenes a little bit of it and stuff. And it's like, I cannot wait to implement the things that you guys are teaching, because it's like true trained professionals teaching you. And like what I'm excited about and what Nick and I love about How to Film Weddings is our goal, our North Star is we want to elevate the wedding industry. And it's like getting this product into the hands of thousands of filmmakers. It's like, oh, wow, wedding film industries. And it's trending that way. More and more people are seeing the value with COVID, with everything going on, with losing people. Or it's like what you've said, it's like, the video is the only thing you can take away from a wedding day where you can really hear and go back to it. And if you have these tools in your tool belt, you can really blow away your potential couples, other vendors, and like the more content that you create that is high quality, the more the industry is going to grow. And so like super excited about this.
Yeah, definitely. I got to sit in on one of their classes here yesterday at Venture, just talking about using music and blending it together. And, in one of their videos, they like layered 2 songs over each other and talking about, do you cover music side?
We do. Okay. It's one of my favorite modules because I get to like be creative. So much of it is tech, like in technique, and in the music module, we really just get to talk about creativity and how to serve your client well, and
how not to betray your
brand. And so we do get to dive into that, which was like so fun.
Yeah. Get this stinking course.
But it gave me goosebumps, as you're talking about it, just hearing you, the passion that you have about it, but then how you're able to be creative and layer. And it wasn't just, oh, this is cool. This song and this song are in the same key and the same beats per minute, and we can put them over the top of each other. Like, you're not doing it just because you can do it. It's very purposeful. And so you're learning how to be technical, but you're also learning like practically and how to serve your clients better and like, have the music relate to their wedding day anyway. It was just so cool, and thinking about music differently, adding in other tracks and other things about it. It was cool. So if you head over to howtofilmweddings.com/KEJ, howtofilmweddings.com. Man, I can't talk. howtofilmweddings.com/KEJ.
That's it.
There you go.
Nailed
it. And we will get you all the information about the KEJ Productions Audio Masterclass.
Or just KEJ Audio Masterclass.
Yeah.
For wedding filmmakers. So it's made for wedding filmmakers. Maybe later on down the line, we'll do more like for commercial filmmakers, for church production.
We all know. I know y'all been people going to church. Y'all seen that church production stuff online.
That's a whole other. For now, it's just for you wedding filmmakers.
That's so exciting.
Awesome. So it's a great product. I'm really excited for you guys. I'm very thankful that you guys have put this out.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, in our industry. So howtofilmweddings.com/KEJ, where if people aren't following you, if you want to just get to know you guys,
we got cars driving by.
Yeah,
the noise floor, we cover that
noise
too.
Floor, yeah. Sorry,
As
guys.
she said that, a motorcycle just drove by. I don't know
If you sign up today, we'll get rid of all this noise in the podcast.
We'll re-release it next week, clean, showing what we can do. We're not going to edit that down. We don't need that.
I love it. That's perfect.
So where can people find you if they just want to follow you? Or
Yes, we're on the Instagram at KEJProductions.com. Also, that's our website, YouTube, KEJProductions.com as well. We have tons of wedding films, but also a lot of audio production.
Really good stuff on the YouTubes. I'll be listening through and watching through. And the production value is quite high. I can't lie.
it's decent.
It's pretty great. They're like
step
going
it up,
next
you know?
level.
Yeah,
They
You gotta step it
up.
up. Trying to keep up with y'all.
Trying to keep up with y'all.
Well, Kaleb and Elaine, thank you guys so much for
Thank
just
you guys
taking
so
some
much.
time to hang out with us today. We really appreciate it. So, listener, we want you to head over to howtofilmweddings.com/KEJ. Don't mind that motorcycle that's driving around.
Blake,
back
the
there.
editor's like,
Blake is angry. Blake
I'll
is
hook
angry.
you up, Blake.
Thank you for checking us out today. And until next time, we will see you.
See ya.